I am obsessed with action cameras. Check this out. I shot those with DJI Action 2, one of my favorite action cameras of all time. It has a giant screen. It can record up to 4K 120 frames per second. It has built-in storage, Wi-Fi, especially at this top module. It's modular, so it takes a little space. I love this thing. But now there is this. This is DJI Action 3, and it was released in September 2022. Action 3 Adventure Combo comes in this nicely designed box. Inside the box we're greeted with multifunctional battery case that can hold up to 3 batteries and 2 micro SD cards, and inside that there are 3 batteries. Oh, and you can charge this case or use it as a power bank using this USB-C port. Then some papers, USB-C to USB-C cable, 2 quick release adapter mounts, adhesive base, 2 Osmo locking screws, horizontal vertical protective frame, rubber lens protector, 1.5 meter extension rod, and DJI Action 3 itself. This thing has 1/1.7 inch CMOS sensor and a lens with f2.8 aperture. The field of view is 155 degrees, it can take 12 megapixel RAW photos, and it can shoot 4K 120 frames per second H.265D Cine-like videos. So I guess the question is it any good? DJI Action 3 brings back the rugged design of DJI Action 1. This thing is 16 meter waterproof. It can run in very cold situations. Right now in LA it's super cold, but not as cold at a level where I can test this. They're talking about minus 20 degrees Celsius. The battery can be charged up to 80% in 18 minutes. It has dual touch screen. You can touch here or you can touch here, which comes in very handy, especially in cases where you mount this against something and you don't want to reach into your phone to control the camera. You can do all the settings right from here very easily. You can control all the settings because you cannot reach the back or see the back. It has really nice stabilization, and one of the stabilization modes is called horizon balancing, horizon steady. When you tilt the device, the horizon stays the same. And what that means is if you mount this camera somewhere and you cannot really level it, it's a little bit crooked like that, or if you're walking and it's moving left and right, it's going to keep the horizon steady. It's a great solution. The field of view can go up to 155 degrees, which is pretty wide, which is really useful when it comes to situations where you're in a really small place, or if you want to show what's going on everywhere around you. But if you don't want it, you can just switch to standard or wide angle and keep on shooting with that field of view as well. And one of my favorite things about this action camera, actually the last 2 generations of DJI action cameras, it is the mountability. This is fantastic. This is not coming off. It is super simple and super effective. Also, people were staring, so I started losing my lines. And the bottom of these devices are magnetized, so you can mount this on a metal surface and use that surface as a little tripod for the day. Especially with this case, when I put this in there, I have another mounting option for vertical video. Vertical video option is fantastic, but this thing also can shoot in 4:3, so you can shoot in 4:3 and crop it for the regular YouTube kind of footage or Instagram or TikTok vertical video format as you wish. But if you don't want it, if you want the full vertical version, you can do this, or you can mount this somewhere this way, and without the need for, you know, another mount in between that's gonna add more weight to this, you can start filming this way. But wait, there is more. It's a Ferrari. DJI recently updated Action 3 and brought in really nice and necessary features to this action camera. So let's talk about them. First of all, now there is an enhanced image quality option while you're filming in normal mode, up to 4K 30 frames per second, 2.7K 30 frames per second, and 1080p 60 frames per second. You can go into the settings and switch to enhanced image quality mode, and what that does is it brings up the bitrate while it's recording. So it's going to be a bigger file, it's going to drain the battery a little bit more, but in the end you'll get much more detail, especially in the shadows or in the highlights. Overall, all of the footage, it's going to have more detail in it for you to edit them. Next up, HDR. Now DJI Action 3 can shoot up to 4K 30 frames in HDR. But this HDR done in the processor level, so it's not BT 2020. You still get Rec 709 footage out of this camera, but it will give you much better dynamic range, especially if you're under direct sunlight. You will see in this sample footage that you'll see a lot more on the highlights and a lot more on the shadows. But in low light, you shouldn't prefer HDR. In low light, you can switch back to the normal mode and or enhanced video mode. But then if you're like me, walking around with color charts and stuff like that, oh no! But then if you're like me, walking around with color charts and stuff like that, there is a brand new option that gives this camera,
find that in your Apple Music library.
That gives this camera 10-bit recording capability. When you switch from normal to D-Cine-like, now Action 3 records in 10-bit. And if you're wondering what 10-bit is, let me explain it to you. While we're recording, if we're recording in 8-bit, in 8-bit footage, there is 256 shades of green, 256 shades of blue, and then 256 shades of red, all combined in that footage, which gives you 16.7 million colors, which sounds a lot, but actually it is not, especially when it comes to the degradation in the sky and stuff like that. You will see it's not fluid. You will see parts that are sticking out. So when you shoot in 10-bit, you get 1024 shades of green, 1024 shades of red, and 1024 shades of blue, which gives you 1 billion colors in the footage. And on top of that, since Cine-like, D-Cine-like is a flat profile, which means you can grade it yourself, you're gonna get the most dynamic range with the most color information. Of course, it requires a little more, fiddling, but it is a fantastic feature to have on an action camera. Another great feature on this device is the OTG wired connection. And what that means is you can directly connect this device using the USB-C port right here to your Android phone or iPad that uses USB-C connection, and probably soon iPhones, who knows, and transfer your files directly to your device, which means you can edit the footage you can get out of this device on the go. We have a new stabilization version in this device, and it is called RockSteady Plus. It is like RockSteady, but it does more compared to the other stabilization, RockSteady stabilization. So if you want a footage that looks very much like it came out of the gimbal, you can switch to RockSteady Plus. In return, the image gets cropped a little bit, but the stabilization you get is a lot more. And the last update, which excites me a lot, is the timecode. Now we have timecode on these devices, and if you have a timecode box, you can synchronize all these devices together and you can start shooting, and when it's time to put all the footage together. For example, right now I'm using the DJI mic, but I'm also using the microphone on top of my Sony camera. So in order to synchronize these sounds, I have to clap or use the audio for reference. But let's say you're at a wedding and then some people are going around and then some cameramen are over there, some cameramen are over there, and you want to put all those footages together, you cannot fully synchronize them unless you have timecode buried into their metadata. Now it's possible to do that on this device. So these are the updates that came to DJI Action 3 and made it even better. Well, thank you very much for watching this episode, and I hope you enjoyed it. And thank you so much, DJI, for sponsoring this video. As usual, I have links in the description box below. You can go ahead and check and see these devices. But as always, I'm curious what you think about DJI Action 3, DJI Action 2, action cameras in general, because this is something I use more and more besides action. These cameras are always in my bag, they're always with me, and I wouldn't put my phone in a lot of places. My phone has a lot of sensitive information. I wouldn't hit record and leave it somewhere, you know, that's me. But with these are rugged, these are made to take the hit. Dogs are howling. So I started using these much more in my videos. Let me know in the description box below. And until I see you the next time, take really good care of yourselves. And hoşça kalın. Do you know how cold it is for a person who lives in California? It's usually 100 degrees around here. I'm freezing. This is cold. Let's drive around.